Hello, welcome back to Leicester Fan TV. This is the Fox's Focus show. We're back. We've had a summer off. We're finally back, ready for the new preseason. Joining me today is Reedy. Hello, Reedy.
I'm good. How are you?
No, not bad, thank you. And my partner in crime, Simon. Simon's back.
Hello, mate. Nice to see you again. Ready for another season, Jono?
Yes, ready for a new season. I mean, when we broke up, when we ended after the season ended, Leicester was in a right old state, wasn't it? It wasn't like it was ended on good terms. But what are your thoughts? Here's the comment: new season, new Leicester. What do you think?
Well, for me, for my opinion, I feel a lot more optimism, if I'm honest, going into this season. I've liked the look of Cifuentes, what he's saying, the way he's talking a lot about fast attacking, pressurising football. He's brought up a lot about our wingers and their strengths over the last few days, and now we're going to play to those strengths next season. Obviously, there's a couple of bits here and there where you look at and you're not quite sure, especially up front, how it's going to figure out. But I'm a lot more optimistic, Jono, than I was a few weeks ago.
I'm a lot more optimistic. I think, especially since Cifuentes came in. I mean, I think that appointment was completely by fluke. I think when you have Chris Wilder and Cifuentes in the same sentence, you don't really have a tactic in mind. You just want to get a manager that's cheap. But look, I think luckily for us, it's kind of worked out. What do you think really about your thoughts going into the new season compared to the last season?
I think everyone knows that my opinion on kind of the football philosophy or style or tactical side of things since the Enzo way for me has kind of really turned. Obviously before then I wasn't too focused on what we were doing, but since Enzo I've kind of been focusing on trying to wanting a manager like that, and like Simon says, the style that Cifuentes has brought in and kind of looks from what we see is more adaptable but better in a way of more aggressive, but then it's obviously more higher risk, higher reward in a way, but then it could be worse because we could concede more. But in a way, it's hopefully going to get more fans up off the seat when we play. It looks like we're going to be more attacking, like you said, Jono. But again, it just depends how it goes. Because again, I saw is it Bloom, the Ipswich fan? He did say that realistically, Leicester could be finishing bottom three or top three. You don't know, and that's how. As much as I'm positive and I think that we can get minimum playoffs, there's every chance with a point deduction and whatnot that anything could happen, and we don't know.
No, I mean, I've been watching the interviews of the players and watching the training very closely this time because I want to see. I think I jumped on the Ruud bandwagon very quickly. I was very eager to jump on his bandwagon and say, yeah, Ruud was great, and that bandwagon lasted 2.5 weeks, and then it collapsed. So I've been looking at his tactics carefully, and every player has said, I know every manager, of course, every player's going to say, oh, like we like the new manager, but I really think this time, like the players are buying into it because immediately after, it's not very common that after 4 days, tactics can be seen in the preseason game. Like we played the last preseason game, the ball's been passed from the centre halves to the wingers, midfielders, and it was moving along the pitch very quickly. Every time we lost the ball, players were instantly closing on them to get the ball back. That did not happen under Ruud. So his tactics are being adopted by the players very quickly, and every player seems buzzing. And Arya made a really good comment about the tactics as well. And I think what was his comment about how if teams play low block, which they will do against us in the next season, it's not just about, oh, let's keep shooting. It's playing the ball quickly to try and break down low blocks. And I think that wasn't improvised last season. Ours was stay really far back and just try and counter, which is why we never got into the opponent's half. But this time, it seems a lot more fast paced. Let's try and unlock it by wearing them down. It's like Enzo ball, but quicker.
I'll go with that. I think you're right. It's like Enzo on steroids a bit. And this is I was when Cifuentes was announced, I read a little bit about his background and his tactics, and I was really quite frightened that we were going to end up watching us pass it around the back four again for half an hour like we did under Maresca. And whilst he got a job done, don't get me wrong, he absolutely got the job done. It was at times boring in the King Power Stadium to sit there and just watch us tap it around the back, like when the other team was just 10 men behind the ball, desperately hoping we didn't thrash them, and we're just playing it around the back. It's like, can we just get on with it? This feels more pressing, more aggressive. The transitions are quicker. This does feel very dominating and quite aggressive in its nature. I like the look of it. However, gentlemen, it needs a focal point for me, and at the minute, that's the piece of the jigsaw that's missing up top.
Yeah, I mean, going into before I do that, I'll go through some comments beforehand. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials. I'll get rid of this banner just so you can see them. I'll go through some comments before we go into the transfer news. Terence says, keep the faith. I'm faithful that we could have a good season, but considering, us being Leicester, anything could happen, like Reedy said. Gary said, I think time will tell. He looks optimistic, so we can get you can back him. I think so too. Evening Scott, he says it seems to be a mix of Maresca / Bielsa mix. At the two different lots of point deductions, we are in the roller coaster of the season. Terence says another weekend approaching, still no shirt release. I've heard that the shirt is going to be released tomorrow. I've seen rumours. I can't say yes, it's going to be released tomorrow, but I heard rumours. And Craig said, "Evening or good evening to you too." So, as you said, Simon, we need a focal point. Vardy's left us. I personally think that's the correct thing. For me, that's the old Leicester. That we've loved it. It's been brilliant, but we need a new Leicester, and we need a new striker. And all of us know, apart from Reedy, that Daka is not the player. Daka is not the player. So we're going to talk about transfers now. We all know players are going to leave. We have to buy players. The main one is Hermansen going to West Ham for an estimated fee of 35 million. El Canoes for around 25 or 22. That's his release clause. Cody to Rangers. Now, we all know who we want. We need a striker. So who do you guys think should come in as our new focal striker?
Right now, I think the only option's Vardy. I think
the sign.
We were talking about it before we went live, and as much as I would say that when Vardy left and we did all the thing for him in the last game of the season for him at home and whatnot, I didn't think there was any chance of getting him back. But the longer it takes for him to either find a new club or someone to give him a contract, the more I'm thinking, do you know what? We need a player who will score us goals. We know he's done it before where he has. I don't know if he reached 20 goals last season in the Championship, but last time in the Championship, but we all know he will get at least 10 to 15 goals. And for me, any Championship team who wants to get up in the Championship to the Premier League, for me, you need a striker who can do that. Yes, there's every chance that he doesn't come back, and very much like 90% probably won't, but thinking about players who could probably come, again, I don't think you're going to get many players who are going to drop down the league from the Premier League, which obviously we've had been linked with what's his name? The guy from Everton, the Calvert-Lewin. You've got I think you mentioned someone else, but again, I don't know who to go for. Again, you could look in the Championship, who scored a lot of goals last time in the Championship last season. Maybe you try and sneak a bid in for one of them and try and stop one of them teams who he was playing for get higher up. But I don't really know, because right now my only faith really is Jordan Ayew, and that means I don't know.
I mean, looking at his preseason game, I mean, he scored a really good goal in preseason. He was on the side of the box, and instead of trying to pass the ball around, he cut across two players and slotted it nicely in the bottom left corner. So, would you say, Simon, don't go forking out for a lot of money for a decent Championship striker, or would you try and work with the front three we've got? And I think if Olkanus goes, that'll be Fatario on the right, Mavadini in the middle, Mongo on the left, and Ayew at front.
We need a striker. I'm sorry, like we can't expect to go into this season and Daka and Ayew to score us enough goals to get us in the top 6 in that league. We don't know how many points we're going to be minus yet. That's still floating around. We might have to catch some ground up. If Cifuentes is talking about the focal point of this in terms of his strategy being that he's identified our wingers are our strength because of the quality we've got, and that's going to be a big focus for him. We need someone for them to put the ball into, fine. Ayew scored a couple of half decent goals in pre-season. Fine, good. We're talking about a whole season slogging the Championship. I'm not sure he's of the age that he'll be able to give 100% for the whole season. We need someone. I'd much rather see us right now, rather than going out and trying to sign a Callum Wilson, as someone mentioned earlier on there, or I think Patrick Bamford's now going to Burnley, I believe, but I think he was released at some point or other by Leeds. There's a few floating around. Rather than that, I'd much rather we went for someone young, a young talent. Get back to what we used to do when we signed the likes of Riyad Mahrez and Anthony Konokar and Jamie Vardy when we came from Fleetwood.
And Kante.
Those kind of cute scouting and take a calculated gamble on someone.
I think the only issue with that sort of thing, because I think it's the issue with majority of signings if we do try and go for a striker, is in the fact of they've kind of in this sort of position we're in where we have to probably try and get to at least the playoffs. However you buy up front, even if it's 20, 30 or even 10 million pounds signing, they need to hit the ground running. And that is the kind of the big issue, because if you don't hit the ground running and he only gets 5 to 10 goals a season, maybe that isn't enough to have bought a new striker in to do what we need him to do. And that's where, as much as I'm not saying, I'd say I'd prefer to have a new striker than Ayew, but right now he has shown that he can be good enough in the Premier League a few years ago. I think maybe he's the same sort of level as where Vardy is now, in the fact of he's probably really good for the Championship, but not just good enough for the Premier League. I don't know.
Well, Michael says that I will be good for the Championship. Craig agrees with Gary earlier, saying Wilson from Newcastle. I think I'm leaning towards what Simon says about I don't want players, just experienced players for the here and now. Our squad right now is going towards the future. We've got some brilliant youngsters coming through, like Jake Evans, Will Alves, Ben Nelson, Monga. Really, really, really good prospect players, which we can build up. Like Monga had interest from Real Madrid and Man City. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get a player that's old or injury prone where, they're okay, they score a few goals, but let's get a younger striker, not like 17, 18, but like a 21-year-old, 22-year-old who can maybe hit the ground running, but also develop.
Yeah, I don't know. Simon, you probably got this.
I agree with you. For me, we've got that experience. I mean, Daka and Ayew are experienced. I know Daka has not really laid down any stats to tell you that he's going to lead the line next season, but they have got experience. But for me, I'd much rather see a youngster come in as a part of that trio and maybe rotate it, and try and keep things fresh and have those options. I would imagine either Daka or Ayew is going to get injured at some point before Christmas as well. So you've got to have an option. We need something. And for me, the club, not just up front, but in general, needs to get back to having a robust, intelligent scouting system that is picking up these gems from the lower league. We've tried it, gents. We've tried to buy ready-made players over the last 4 years. And that is a big reason why we've got the financial problems now we've got. I'd much rather we went down that route, for me.
I mean, that's what we're famed for. Like, as you said, like James Maddison was peanuts. We've sold him for a lot of money. Harvey Barnes and players like that were buying them. Harry Maguire, buying them really cheap, and then selling him off for a massive profit. And we tried buy Daka. He's lost all of his value. We've bought Sumare, lost most of his value. So yeah, I do agree buying young. Ryan, who's he? Ryan Colley has.
I think maybe he's their striker.
He is, yeah. And I think there might be some some legs in that, in terms of Cifuentes is going to know all of that QPR squad inside out and backwards. If he takes a professional judgment that we can get someone like Ryan Colley and he believes he'll get goals for us, then it could be a bargain buy that could do a job. I mean, the other one, obviously, from QPR is Moussa Shah, the attacking midfielder. If El Khanous goes, which looks highly likely, Shah, for me, would be a shout to fill that void in the 10 role.
Absolutely. Andy says, I would actually take a season around mid-table if it means, ballooning for main building all these youngsters.
No, he's blooding all these youngsters, yeah.
Oh, okay. And get experience. I mean, I'd rather us go mid-table and stabilise the club than what we did the season prior. I mean, the season we last got relegated, spending tons of money pushing for promotion, and then risk coming down again another points deduction. I'd rather.
I think the differences from this season to that year when we got relegated and we bought players is because we were in a position where we didn't have the players that Enzo wanted to suit his system, and that's why he mainly brought in the likes of Winks, because you saw how well he was in that system. Now you've got a lot of players who had been used to it that year when we obviously won the championship. Yes, they weren't good enough in the Premier League last year, but now you've kind of got. I think that's maybe where Top as well has kind of picked Cifuentes over most managers that we were linked with, because of how all the players are used to playing, and that's where coming into last gaming, obviously the next few pre-season games, they're already kind of built or suited to the style that he wants to play, just with adaptations in a way of how he wants to play, a bit more quicker, a bit more aggressive. And that's where I feel like now we won't be buying the likes of another Winks for 90 grand a week or Cody. We'll be just buying the select positions now where we need to improve just to make sure we can do the job.
Exactly that. We can't afford a season in the second tier longer than this season. I mean, we said that last time, didn't we? We said, that's the one what the club did. We bought so many players on such high wages. Us being out of the Premier League has already put a financial deficit in the club, because we're paying out more money than we're actually going to get from being in the Championship. Like, I don't know how much Sumare and players like that are on, but there must be more than what we're doing in the Championship. And I do agree, like, that is one reason why we should go back to the Premier League. But again, is it what you said? Is it worth it? Like, I'd rather see us in a Championship than go. I'm seeing reports that King Power are doing horrifically as a business. Should we risk it?
I don't think we can afford to. I think the days of us going out, as Reedy said, and buying these players on huge wages are over. Mm-hmm. The club has got to cut its cloth accordingly now. The model that caused all of the catastrophe in the first place was based on us finishing in the top 6-7 of the Premier League every season. That went drastically wrong the first time we got relegated 3 or 4 years ago. And ever since then, our finances have been in an absolute tailspin. We've got to clear the decks. And I absolutely, by now, we're only a couple of weeks away from the season started. I absolutely, by now, I'd expected for 4 or 5 of them to already have gone. And their wages to have been out of the club, and we've still got every single player in the squad still in Austria on the training camp. I mean, from what I can gather, they actively blocked Cody going up to Scotland to sign for Rangers last week and put him on a plane to Austria against his will. So maybe Cifuentes has made a judgment that he wants him as part of his team, but surely something's got to give here. The likes of your Samares, etc., that are carrying £70,000 a week wages, some of them have surely got to go out the door.
Well, we're all waiting. I think once the season ended, we're all waiting for Ruud to get sacked. Then it was a horrendous waiting for a new manager, And then since the manager was released, great, brilliant, got a new manager. I reckon the first week after getting used to the players, knowing what he wants, like Reedy says, understanding the players he wants to get rid of, players he wants to keep. But this weekend, especially after tomorrow, there has to be movement. Players going out, because the club told Cifuentes, you cannot buy anyone until we sell. So what's going to give? We have to sell. I don't like Mads. I love it to be Mads first, because it's a good chunk of money. and we've got a really good backup. So I think that's the first domino needs to go for the all. You know what I mean? The first one needs to fall, and that one is selling Elkanus or Mads for me.
Well, I think what you've got to look at as well is the fact that yes, the manager's been in I think more than a week now, but I said before we went live that the fact is the manager, like you said, John, needs to figure out what he wants in his squad, what he needs to maybe boost or grow in his squad to make it work better, and maybe he's only looking at certain positions in the fact of Mads goes because of his price is just too good to turn down. Who does he bring in? Because again, we are linked with a few goalkeepers linked. Is that because we have lost Ward and we need a backup, or I have a slight feeling that if someone like Begovic or this Meslier from Leeds comes in, which I don't get how we're even trying to go for him, but is he really looking to maybe bring in a first choice because he does because he's new. He doesn't know what the fans think of the likes of Jacob Solicic. Like, he doesn't know. It's like when Rude came in. He didn't know about the Ward situation around the fans. And when he put him in for a few games, and you could instantly tell that it wasn't a right decision to make. So this new manager, Cifuentes, he might just think it's a new start for all the players. And you might think, is Jacob Stolicic good enough when he is only an academy player? So maybe he does think if Hermanson goes out the door, we're looking at the next best solutions for a first choice. This is where I'm scared in the fact of first game of the season against Sheffield Wednesday. Is it not going to be Solicic? It's going to be Begovic or this Leeds goalkeeper.
Well, that is a club that is in a worse state than Leicester. One of their stands might not be open because of the fundings for it. It's just awful. Gary said, I thought the club took out a loan. I did see articles about this, that we took out a big loan in order for us to make signings. But I don't think, me personally, I don't know the financial side very well. But I thought it's what the club earns in itself, not what you get given. You know what I mean? I thought you can only spend what the club earns. So if we get a big loan, how can we go out and buy players if the club hasn't earned that money?
Yeah, you're right. But if you're talking about PSR, you can spend over in a 3-year cycle a certain percentage over what your revenue is. If you go over that percentage, then you breach. But I suspect that loan is just to keep the wages being paid and the club being run. I don't think it's anything more than that. You know, if the rumours are true that King Power, the parent company, have got financial problems, there's not a pot of money over here to start pushing into Leicester City. So I'd imagine that's securing that we've got every bill paid this season without any struggles in case the King Power situation gets worse. That's my perception of it. I don't think there's any war chest of any substantial amount for Cifuentes unless we offload players. And the longer it takes to offload them, the less time the new manager's got then to try and find and sign his targets.
I mean, I saw a comment here. Michael says we don't need any new players. We've got a good team. We have got a good team. I think we've got a very good team. However, I think we need one signing only, and that is a striker. I think we've got good depth and a good team else around. We can swap in players different. Players can rotate to different roles. Like Mavididi could play in the wing and as a 10, stuff like that. But one player we definitely need is a striker. We've already discussed the striker in depth anyway, so that's fine. Ellis says, welcome to the stadium expansion. That's gone radio silent. The reason is King Power is stuffed financially. That's nothing to do with Leicester City. That's to do with the fact that King Power can't. I've seen reports saying they're closing loads of shops and cutting staff because they're in danger of collapsing. You know, we could be back to 2001.
You're not going to put more seats on the stadium in the Championship anyway. You know, we've got to establish ourselves as a Premier League club again before you do that, surely.
Definitely. Backup goalie and a striker, then game on. I mean, we're heavily linked with Begovic and Meslier. Leeds goalkeeper, we're heavily linked with them too. So if they two come in, they're really good backup goalkeeper. But we're all in agreement.
Well, yeah, I would say that Jakub Stolisic would be my favourite to be starting every game next
Stolisic, we
season.
all agree, would be
But-
our main goalkeeper.
But I've seen a stat about this Leeds goalkeeper, and there's a big chance on why Leeds could have every chance not gone up last season, and that's because I think there's about 3% of goalkeepers last season that made more mistakes than Meslier last season, and that's the big reason why every time we feel like Leeds could be bottling it, he's probably a big reason why, because he makes a mistake. So for me, I don't know where this rumour's come from. I don't know why we're even looking at him. Maybe because we've seen that he can do it in the Championship, and he's proven that he can get a team up in goal. But for me, I won't go anywhere near him.
Well, Begovic or
No, Meslier.
Meslier.
Begovic for me is basically like a Ward signing, in the fact of you use him when you need him in a cup or in a game where you have got an injury to Stolisic. But like I said, Ward came in when Ruud was in charge. He's new and he doesn't really know unless he sees what the fans' reactions are. There's every chance Stolisic might not even play that many games this season, just because he's thinking, I need to find a new man if Hermansen goes.
Well, looking at the reports, Hermansen is going, but I've seen comments saying, where is it? I go back. That Matt even passes medical. You know, ever since the Newcastle game last season, the away game where I actually went to, ironically, we got stuffed 4-0. He's not looked the same player since that game. So
I think he got rushed back, Jono, by
He did.
Van Nistelrooy. He got rushed back in, and he wasn't ready, and then he ended up having to give him another operation. It just that last season's just horrible in so many ways, and that was another thing that was just a mistake.
Yeah, there's been so many mistakes. It's hard to keep count on what they've done correct. The only thing they've done correct is raise Monger up into this player, and Andy King getting the team getting fit ready for the new season. Before we end the show, the new kit. You know, we've heard last week. We got loads of leaks everywhere, all in one day of all our shirts. And then we got Leicester leaked. Leicester wore our new third shirt in the preseason with no sponsor. We've already discussed the sponsor to death about we don't like dodgy betting sites, and it could be Red Bull, it could be anyone. Do you think like the shirts look good? Like, do you think the new third shirt look good? I know really hates it, but what do you think, Simon?
We're talking about the pink one.
Yeah, pink one. Yeah.
I don't like the stripe, John, if I'm honest. I like the kit. I don't like the stripe. And that might sound a little bit picky, but when I saw him in it, maybe it's because I'm not the most of a svelte silhouette anymore that it won't quite look right on me. But I'd rather it was just plain pink, if I'm honest, with a bit of black detail rather than that kind of stripe, kind of Juventus-esque stripe going down here. But I actually quite like the black and green one. I don't know if you've seen that, the one with the kind of green bits all over it. That I quite like that.
It's a bit different. Like when the original leaks for that shirt was the homage to our '96 away shirt, which was half blue, half green, and they had a revamp of that with like a lighter blue, lighter green, and merging together, like fading. Then the leak was completely different to that completely. But a lot of people saying they love the stripe. The third shirt is nice. I love the third shirt. I think it's really nice. I like the contrast of the stripe. But the sponsor, I think with the sponsor on, it will look so much nicer than you know. We've not seen proper Photoshop versions or player. You know what I mean? I think when we see a proper mock-up, it'll look really nice. I think a kit should be at least well worries. To be honest, a moment. We've talked about everything else, haven't we? What's there to talk about? We talked about transfers. We talked about the tactics.
Well, there's 2 games tomorrow. There's one at 10:30 and one at was it?
I think it's
4?
4. I think it's 4.
4. You know, and the
What do you
first
guys want
game.
to see from that game?
Games? The first game's against Lviv, and you'd imagine that's the one that the kind of reserves are going to. You know, in terms of the fringe players are heading to that one, and then the Cologne game in the afternoon will be the first team one. And because that is a significant step up in standard of opposition, you would absolutely expect us to put out something that looks more like Cifuentes' first team in that afternoon game tomorrow.
I mean, we've gone from kind of like we've got to play against our sister club Leuven, who's not the biggest side in Belgium. We've played against some smaller clubs in Hungary, but Cologne is the first big club we're going to play against, and we've got Fiorentina. I do agree with. The last few games were about fitness. This game, I want to see the tactics we're probably going to see going into the season. I want to see the sort of like how do we break teams down? What do we do if we lose the ball? You know, is the keeper going to come out to the ball? Are we going to play long ball? Are we going to play short ball? How are we going to tap around the box until we find a good opportunity to shoot, or are we going to shoot long? All those things are going to need to be answered. Well, not answered, but sort of leading towards that style going into the Fiorentina. The Fiorentina game for me is Leicester's getting ready for the championship.
I will agree in the fact. I think I would say that. Well done to Leicester in the fact of how they've managed the pre. I know it's kind of been pick a new fixture there, a new fixture here, a new fixture there. But the way if you think about all the games together in a row, they've picked kind of a good run of games from probably the worst sort of team you could play to a bit better until the Fiorentina game. Again, like Simon says, the Cologne game is probably the lower level to them Fiorentina, but obviously before Cologne it was, like I say, Hungary teams or Austrian teams. It was a build up from a team better every time, and now obviously we've got two games to play tomorrow, which will hopefully see the full team or the first team play against Cologne and see where we can see what we can do against them. And then, like I say, going into next week against Fiorentina, that would be the big one where you've got to make sure you're ready to go for the championship the week after that.
Absolutely, and I've got to say, hats off to Andy King. He deserves it right. What he's done in pre-season. I've not seen Leicester prepared for any season in the last 5 or 6 years than what we've looked prepared for this season. That first game we played against our first pre-season game, that was live, we looked fit. Like, it's not Ray. We looked that all players were not walking. We looked sharp. He looked good on the ball. Monga looked like he's played a full. This is like he's still played a full season of football. So what Andy King has done he said, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the players fit and ready and sharp, and then what we'll do is we'll give them to the manager, and all he has to do is tactics, and it works like a treat. I think in terms of fitness and tactics on the pitch, I think Leicester's been very good and prepared. Off the pitch, have been with an absolute shambles.
Well, I mean, the other thing it alludes to is how bad pre-season was last season as well, because that's probably conversely the worst pre-season I think I can ever remember. You know, it's just we didn't look fit going into the season for me. We weren't
properly
prepared.
Steve Cooper in charge. That was awful.
Yeah, just awful. And it's such a stark contrast. I agree with you. I think Andy King. I'm so pleased that Cifuentes has kept Andy King in the training.
He's head coach, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it absolutely makes sense for me, and he deserves a lot of credit for how he managed to hold the fort until Cifuentes turned up. He's done a very good job.
Very, very good job. Score predictions for tomorrow. I don't think we'll do the first pre-season at like 10:30. We'll do the main one in the evening. Is it Cologne or Cologne? I forgot how you
Cologne,
pronounce it.
I think.
Cologne. I reckon we'll probably win 2-1. I reckon we'll win 2-1. And Monga to score.
Go on, Sammy, you first.
All right. I don't think we're going to score many. I don't think we've got right now we've got the right formula. We've won the last 2 friendlies. I'll go 1-1 draw.
I'm going to go 3-1. I think it's time to step up and get more goals going in. I think Fatui will score. I want to see him back again, and I want to see El Kanu score just to see how his reaction is to it, because again, with the leaks around him going, I'd love to keep him. I think everyone in this chat would love.
Love to keep him.
I just don't think with the money available for him. Again, we're only selling him for 0.5 more than we bought him for, but it's just to make sure we don't lose money on him. So yeah, no. I think 3-1.
I think as long as we don't see Cody Vestergaard in that evening game, I think we'll and Reed I have to say his bloody name.
Donkey Reed.
Him in that starting lineup in tomorrow night's game, we can be happy. Well, that's the end of the show. Simon, thank you for coming.
Nice to see you again, mate. Good to get the season going. Let's hope we keep moving in the right direction through the rest of the pre-season.
And we'll be back every Thursday night from now on for the season. If there's any changes, we'll get someone else to fit in. But yeah, we're back ready for the season. Cheers, ready for coming on. There's a surprise guest.
No worries. I just thought I'd pop in. I wasn't on Phil's show, so I thought I'd come in and say my thoughts tonight.
The game tomorrow is on the Leicester YouTube channel, I think. Yeah, so free to watch. And then, are you covering Jamie's show on Sunday still, Reedy?
I am, yes. 9:30, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all very soon.